They called it impossible fire without wood. Yet in the dead of winter, on front lines where forests were gone and the cold could kill faster than bullets, some units didn't just survive. They found heat where no one thought heat could exist. Frozen camps, zero fuel, and a brutal problem. When temperatures fall below freezing, every breath hurts. Your hands stop listening to your brain. Wet boots turn your feet into ice blocks. This is the kind of cold that breaks people, the kind of cold that turns sleep into a death sentence. Ancient armies knew this long before modern textbooks showed thermometers or wind chill charts. Whether it was Scandinavian raiders pushing across snow, Mongolian horsemen crossing wind-scoured plains, or World War I units stuck in shell-blasted forests stripped bare of trees, there was one shared problem. No wood, no branches, no fuel. The method that shouldn't work, but does. This technique starts with a contradiction. Burning things that aren't supposed to burn. No wood? Fine. Use fat. Use animal waste. Use the land's last scraps of organic material. In ancient Scandinavia, Norse travellers gathered frozen reindeer dung and dried it by body heat inside layers of cloth or fur before igniting it with sparks. In Central Asia, nomads carried felt mats soaked in animal fat, which they could strip, twist and burn like slow candles. In the First World War, when the forests around front lines were churned into mud by artillery, soldiers stacked peat, compressed plant matter dug from the ground. When dried, peat burns slow, steady and shockingly hot. You're hearing it right. A life-saving flame from dung, dirt and fat. Survival is rarely glamorous, but it works. Here's the clever twist. None of these ignite easily. That's where technique comes in. Step 1. Fuel that outsmarts the cold. This fire begins with a wick. Even with no cloth you can braid grass, strip threads from clothing or twist dry moss. The wick's job is simple. It pulls melted fat upward, feeding the flame like a primitive candle. For fat, soldiers used whatever was available. Tallow scraped from butchering, bear fat from hunting, even the grease skimmed from stew pots. Ancient Mongols stored fat in leather pouches specifically for this purpose. It was lighter than wood, more calorie-dense, and doubled as food. Layer the fat around your wick. Encase it in something that shields wind. A tin can, a carved-out bone, a hollowed gourd, or a clay bowl hardened near a campfire. Suddenly you have a candle that can burn for hours. No wood required. Step 2. The secret starter. Here's where centuries of knowledge come together. A no-wood fire needs a strong spark. Stone on steel was traditional. Flint, chert or quartz smashing against iron made thin, hot sparks perfect for catching on tinder. And tinder, in these scenarios, became an art form. Ancient survivalists prepared tinder from birch bark soaked in oil, fungus scraped from tree trunks, cattail fluff mixed with ash, or cloth charred just enough to catch fire instantly. World War I troops often used cordite, the powder from rifle cartridges, as an emergency ignition source. Dangerous, yes, but so was freezing to death. Set your tinder. Spark until it glows. Feed it to the wick, then protect it with your hands like you're holding your heartbeat in your palms. A flame will crawl up the wick, melt the fat, and sustain itself. It's not a bonfire. It's not pretty, but it's heat. It's hope. Step 3. The fuel you walk on. Now we get to the core technique that saved entire units. Peat, dung, dry moss blocks. In history's coldest climates, these were gold. Peat is nature's survival battery compressed plant matter that forms in wetlands over centuries. Cut it into bricks, dry it in wind, and once lit, peat burns long and low like a natural coal. Roman legions used it. Medieval Britain used it. Arctic hunters used it. And soldiers in World War I trenches used it when wood was gone. Dung was used the same way. Once dried, it turns into a slow, smoky, heat-heavy fuel. Not pleasant, but, reliable. Some cultures even mixed it with straw to improve airflow and heat output. Drop small chunks around your fat candle. Let them catch slowly. They won't burst into flame, but they'll smoulder like coals, radiating heat. That heat is what kept frostbite away. That heat is what kept breath visible instead of fading out into silence. Cold weather punishes wood. Frozen wood is wet wood. Wet wood steals flame. These historical methods bypass that weakness completely. Fat burns hot even when the air bites back. Peat stays dry underground. Dung, once dried, resists snow moisture. This technique is controlled, efficient and sneaky. It doesn't throw smoke signals into the sky the way green wood does. Armies learn to stay warm without announcing their location to enemies. It's survival and strategy in one. From survival hack to modern skill. Now, you might be wondering, could this still work today? Yes. With the right materials and the right respect for the technique, this knowledge is still practical for wilderness survival, homesteading, or long-term off-grid living. Even in urban emergencies, grease, fat, wax and cloth can create a heat source. Cans become lanterns, cotton becomes wicks, stale bread soaked in grease, a temporary torch. Here's the interesting part. Many modern survival skills trace back to this ancient method. Camping stoves, canned heat, sterno fuel, even some emergency military rations include fat-rich components that can be burned as well as eaten. History doesn't just echo, it evolves. The legacy that kept people alive. The no-wood fire technique isn't famous. You won't see it in big-budget movies or dramatic war documentaries. It's not romantic. It's not heroic in the Hollywood sense. But it's real heroism, the quiet kind. The kind where people refuse to die in the snow. Where knowledge beats nature, even if only by a few degrees of warmth. This is the heart of legacy of survival. Ordinary people facing extraordinary danger, armed with nothing but the skills passed down by those who came before. Skills no storm could erase. Bringing it home. If a stranger from 800 years ago sat across the fire from you tonight, they might not recognize your phone or your car or your microwave, but they'd recognize this flame. They'd know exactly what you were doing. They'd nod, because survival, at its core, hasn't changed. It's still problem-solving, still adapting, still refusing to surrender to the elements. That's the legacy worth preserving. Call to action. If this story lit a spark in you, if you want more real history, real survival tactics, and real skills that might just save you one day, stick with us. hit that subscribe button. Drop a like to help more people learn this forgotten knowledge. And share this video with someone who loves history or the outdoors. Because here at Legacy of Survival, we're not just telling stories, we're keeping them alive.